you pull on that jersey, you represent yourself and your teammates. And a name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back. Get that through your head.
And here we go.
And it is no good. He missed it. Are you kidding me? The season can't end like that.
The playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Some goofball in a hat and a red shirt. Now he takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested, banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs to the 50. He runs to the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms, bare-chested. Somebody stop that man.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the program here. I'm your host, Tyler Falk, host of NETMA. Thanks for joining in and tuning in to another edition of the show. It's Wednesday, update, so that must mean we've got another set of my top 10 and power rankings to go through tonight. So, just released today over on the SFL, officially confirmed that the special, well, one of the four special edition Monday night games, which will be debuting Monday night. Well, it's going to take place Monday night. Baltimore and Kansas City, if I remember correctly. A fun rematch from last season when Kansas City was supposed to be going undefeated, these two undefeated teams. They come up with that. Both trying to make it undefeated until they faced Baltimore and well, getting all the way taking down Baltimore. But nonetheless, it should be a fun game to watch. Different take of the SFL, different take of how things work, and how we're going to go ahead and broadcast games on special occasions. So go ahead and check out the Monday game as well. But let's go ahead and get right into the top 10. And a team that sneaks in, and it's the return of the Kings. Jacksonville gets into the top 10. 3-1. They do have a bye week, but 3-1 Jacksonville. And they come off a very polar opposite win against Carolina. Now, we all know that Jacksonville, for the most part, has been near the top in SFL history. Also in the top 10. They're a good team. They lose Christensen and a few other players, especially on the defensive linebacking side in season 17. Now, going into season 17, they brought in Marcus Dunhill for season 17, a few other players. This season, they lose their front, a couple core pieces of their defensive line. Hunter Norwood, probably the most notable out of the bunch. So not a whole lot, especially for me, was expected for Jacksonville. And the defense, to me, still is a little shaky. It is still shaky for Jacksonville. But the one thing you do need in everything that an SFL team is, or not just SFL team, but any professional team, you need an it factor. Baltimore, of course, has Jack Wigmore. Vancouver is fortunate enough to have Tom Pepper, Robert Redford, and a whole host of wide receivers. Sioux Falls, it's their defense now that is their it factor. Marcus Dunhill now in 2 games here in season 18 has provided 2 comeback victories, especially finding a way to march down the field in the final minute of 2 ball games, either take the victory or get his team in position to kick a game-winning field goal. Marcus Dunhill is the Marcus Dunhill now that he was when he won a championship with Atlanta. Marcus Dunhill is the it factor for the Kings, and it's the return of the Kings back to the top 10. They jump up a whole host of spots. I think it was 9 spots that I saw them jump up. So unlike a few teams that bounced out of the top 10, I hope they stick around and continue to prove me wrong. On to number 9. Another team that jumps back in is Louisiana, and they took advantage. This is more so Louisiana taking advantage of a very weird week 5 for the East Division. St. Louis had a chance to take the outright lead in the division. They fell to Denver. Atlanta had a chance to do the same. They failed to do so. They lost to Louisiana last week. They fall behind a little bit further. They were on their bye week this past week. And then Tulsa, who played a very up-and-coming Sioux Falls team, had a chance to maybe make a statement as well and maybe move out in front. Instead, it is Louisiana that leads the division now on 2 tie breaks. And they find themselves back here in the top 10. Can Utah, last 2 games, Utah has been pretty good by not giving away the football after throwing it away a whole bunch against Tulsa. So can he keep it going? Can Tommy Utah keep up the production and keep the turnovers down? We'll have to see. As for that defense, that's a scary bunch of guys back there in the defensive backfield. Don't throw it to them, please. Opposing quarterbacks, we Mike Ryan and Take Bennett and Rollman Hood and even Arthur would love to keep picking off opposing passes, but for the sake of your team, don't throw the ball. Don't throw the ball against us unless you have a perfect game plan. Because right now, Louisiana is swimming all over that football. It's fun to watch. All right, on to number 8. Charleston move up a spot. The Predators, I believe, were on a bye week. Yes, after beating Vancouver in week 4. And Charleston, they get a couple of things to fall their way, of course. Not a whole lot to touch on for Charleston. They play San Diego right away, first thing in Saturday's slate of games. So that's going to be a true test for both ball clubs. Can the defense hold off San Diego's very potent offense? It'll be interesting to see. Good game coming that way. Charleston move up a spot as teams move around. So over to number 7 now. Mexico City, they drop all the way down to number 7, and unfortunately, Atlanta was last in the spot. It's almost an unlucky spot to be in because, Mexico City, they're I wouldn't say they're floundering right now, but they're right back in the pack of the South Division. Wasn't really expecting Houston to take this much of an advantage and start pushing for top of the division this early on. But credit to the glory, and for Mexico City, 3 losses for the Aztecs is not something you'd like to see. I'm keeping him in here though because kind of like what Craven said live on the show yesterday in the comments section is you never can really count out Ramos. You can never really count out that coaching staff. And again, I have a little bit more faith in Ramos's coaching staff than I do of a few other coaching staff, but that's neither here or there. Everyone's trying to do their best. That's, again, what we're all about here in the SFL. But Ramos, again, is one of the more legendary coaches in the SFL. I don't know if I can keep in the top 10 if they lose not next week. Oh, they do play Lone Star. So big test for Mexico and Lone Star coming up. Speaking of the glory, they find themselves right above Mexico City in the 6th spot. And for Lone Star, a big win over Houston. Big comeback win over Houston. Going to need a lot more of that offense, and that defense needs to play lights out for not just a couple quarters, but for the entire ball game against Mexico City because Lone Star, their offense is really good. Ace Fennec, that Ace Seduce connection, and finally Sleeves, the diva himself, Dave Axis, gets into the act with a spectacular sideline catch. Top 10 has not come out yet, but I suspect that should be on the top 10. That's almost can't remember the correct Super Bowl number, but that's almost Santonio Holmes in the sideline near the end zone for the game-winning score for the Steelers. That's Antonio Holmes-esque. That's legendary stuff right there. And it was only week 5 in the regular season. So defense has a little bit of work to do, I think. They did play really well. Gunny got a pick to seal a football game on a very dangerous corner route. They're going to need a lot more timely plays throughout all 4 quarters of the football game versus Mexico City. All right, top 5, and this is the highest I've ever put in the Mavericks. Oh, that might get a nosebleed for being up that high, but San Diego has really stepped it up this season. A big win, big opening day win, shocking Florida. They do fall to Carolina week 2, and I think they've started to string things together. They're 3-1 as well, picking up big wins versus LA and picking up, of course, the win over Portland last week in a game that went back and forth in the first half, but all of a sudden it was just taken over by San Diego, and they would not look back. The offense is stellar. The defense came alive in the second half after giving up a whole slew of points. That game went. I wouldn't even say it slowed down. It was just it kept a very level excitement. It was always fun. It was a fun game to call, fun game to watch. For the Mavs though, the defense is going to have to play the offense is going to have to play Charleston. A very tough defense. Charleston doesn't like to give up a whole lot of points. Don't expect San Diego to score more than 40 points this week. I expect this one to be more nip and tuck, and San Diego's going to have to play solid football. Patterson with with only 2 interceptions in the game against Portland. Would like to see that number come down a little bit. Hopefully it does come down. Hopefully he's not throwing the ball away too much versus Charleston this week. Okay, on to the top 4, and I'm going to preface this top 4 by saying not a single team move because the majority of them were on bye week. That starts with DC. DC were on the bye week after a very, very solid opening part of the season. Undefeated 4-0 on a bye week here in week 5. They take on London, who just got their first win of the regular season. Now as London start to maybe have a little bit of momentum with their first win, is DC able to quell that optimism that the Knights have and continue on I would say probably a magical run for the Dragons, being undefeated at this point, taking down very quality, a bunch of quality teams, the entire South Division. Now having to play in their own division for the next 2 games versus London and then away in Queen City. Are they ready for division play? I think they are. The bye week helps them out tremendously. DC should be in a good spot going into week 6. All right. Number 3, of course, is Vancouver. Vancouver also on that bye week after losing to Charleston week 4. Maybe some time for them to regroup after losing Robert Redford in that football game. So Legion take on Florida. Not an easy task, as Florida are also coming off that bye week, and we'll talk about them here in a second. Now with a full strength team, is Vancouver maybe a team that would be looking at week 4 and say, no, we're going undefeated. That was just a little fluke against Charleston because we didn't have a full roster. We'd have to see. It's going to be a fun matchup. And as we go into talking about Florida, they're of course at number 2, also on a bye week after their win in LA in week 4. Of course, they had that opening day loss to San Diego, and that continues that streak. But after that, they just pick up right where they left off from the regular season in season 17 with rattling off 3 big wins versus Portland, Carolina, and Los Angeles. Big tough test against Vancouver in Vancouver. Really going to find out who is going to be in the top 3 seeds after this week, depending on how the game goes. But expect this one to be an instant classic. This is the final game over on Twitch on Sunday night. Definitely a must-watch game in all facets. All right, final team, of course, is Baltimore. What more can be said about the Vultures than what hasn't already been said? They took down Mexico City with authority. It was 41-10 at one, or 41-3, I believe, at one point before Mexico rattled off. I got to get my facts right here. Anyways, Mexico City, I think, scored 17 points in the 4th quarter. Baltimore continued to score 10 or more points through each quarter. So Baltimore, of course, obviously in control of that football game. Vultures, number 1 here in this week's Power Rank. So there's your top 10. Jacksonville 10, Louisiana 9, Charleston number 8, Mexico City 7, Lone Star 6, San Diego 5, DC 4, Vancouver 3, Florida 2, and Baltimore number 1. All right, we've all been waiting for it. Full power rankings are now on the screen. That is how the power rankings here on NETMA sit as we continue to go through the regular season. Week 6 Power rankings will be posted just after the video in the NETMA server Discord, link to which is down below in the description. If you liked what you saw today, go ahead and leave us a like. Go ahead and subscribe for more, and we will catch you tomorrow night. Same time, same place, right back here on NETMA. And until then, everybody, have a good night, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.